that's really to my thinking, create a factor of expansion. So in this context, I'm thinking of intensification and expansion. The intensification of the existing village may be done by local people, while the expansion of the village and sadly in the rural, in the agricultural area are usually external factors and not merely for housing, because the local actor usually housing, but the external factors built outside the village for non-commercial, non-housing, such as maybe a hotel, restaurant, industry, and so on and so forth. That's my comment. But please now, Pak Edi Arinto.
Oh, thank you, Pak Bobi.
Anto.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Pak Bobi, Pak Armen, and all of the participants. Yeah. May I share screen?
Ya, please. Mbak Intan, bisa ya?
Bisa, Pak.
Please, Pak Eko, Pak Anto.
Yes, the title is Banned or Shifted.
Wow.
Yesterday, I attended a webinar with the theme Borobudur Tourism Promotion.
Oh.
Yeah, to promote Borobudur, various parties have prepared various attraction, utilization of nature and the surrounding environment for outdoor recreation, provision for supporting amenities such as accommodation, exclusive spa, restaurant, and many things. Yeah, this kind of concentration of activities certainly encourages a high level of activity intensity with increasing visitors. Yeah, the value will increase, will means land use change will certainly be unavoidable. Yeah, I will start with city and desa kota planning. Is intended to improve the welfare of the community, and the preservation and development do not need to dichotomy. The problem is how they can be developed in harmony, Yeah. For me, in case of Borobudur, planning must be based on preservation. Effort to maintain outstanding universal values of Borobudur, this is the spirit of place, can be done by reduce disruption to the maximum possibilities without leaving the economic welfare of the community. Maintaining the spirit of place of Borobudur is maintaining the OUV. Borobudur is not the same as Disneyland or Taman Impian Jaya Ancol, which is only recreational objects. Instead of it, it's also a spiritual place. Yeah. This is, I think, the principle. Disruption may happen due to increasing intensity of activities, increasing physical infrastructure, transfer of land function, or land use conversion that cause decreasing of carrying capacity. Jadi saya merasa bahwa pemadatan aktivitas yang ada di Borobudur saat ini itu menyebabkan perubahan-perubahan land use atau yang biasa kita kenal sebagai alih fungsi lahan. Nah, ini tentu sangat merugikan bagi pengembangan Borobudur jika tidak dikendalikan, karena carrying capacity-nya akan mengalami penurunan, ya, decreasing carrying capacity. Nah, khususnya berkaitan dengan rencana adanya jalan tol, saya pikir perlu diperhatikan mengenai impact-nya ya, atau dampaknya pada Borobudur. The toll roads highways can disrupt a meditative, spiritual, and agrarian rural silent atmosphere because of noise, vibration, and visual disorders. Jadi kalau kita lihat ada beberapa aspek yang memang perlu diperhatikan untuk mempertahankan Borobudur sebagai sebuah kawasan yang meditatif, spiritual, dan agraris. Kalau ditinjau dari rencana transportasi, ini dari salah satu sudut pandang, only one side. It's about noise, vibration, and visual disorders. Nah, jika kita lihat pada lingkup spasial 10x10 ini, maka perlu ada satu conceptual zone which is divided into buffer zone, transition zone, and core zone. Nah, so this is only small idea about the plan of toll roads, and also railway plan in the next decade. I think we can make a bend the toll road to make a buffer zone more wider, yeah. And the second idea is shifted the toll road to the eastward of the railway plan. Jadi kalau memungkinkan sebenarnya toll road itu jangan masuk ke wilayah sebelah barat atau wilayah Borobudur, tetapi justru dia ada di bagian timur. Dengan demikian kita bisa mengkonservasi atau mengurangi dampak dari keberadaan transportasi ini. Ya, ini hanya ide kecil. Terima kasih. Thank you for your attention.
Terima kasih Pak Anto. Saya kira I think Harvey, this is interesting ideas ya, concerning the toll road, the buffer zone, and so on and so forth. Even come up with quite not radical, but so actually also possible. Yeah, I mean the several alternatives of the istilahnya jalur ya, jalur itu apa bahasa Inggrisnya ya, of the toll road ya, moving a bit to the eastern part of the area ya.
But the problem, it has decided to be the western part of the road, ya, bukan.
Ya, nggak apa-apa, Fajar. This is only, I mean, still valuable for discussion and even for the future model, you know. At least we know especially when Pak Anto mentioned about the 3 possible impacts of the road, right? The noise, vibration, and visual. If the decision already made, so the next issue is how to reduce the noise, and how to reduce vibration, and how to reduce the visual impacts of that road. Yeah. And one thing is by having 3 types of buffer zone. But Harman, I should mention to you that the issue of zonasi in Borobudur is quite complex. Yeah. Start from when the JICA in 1970s, 80 already making zonasi, yeah, and forgot the zona 1, 2, 3, and then KSN also make the new zonation and then Neville also make a zonation buffer zone, lingkaran circle. And then what is the reason Pak Anto to have a buffer zone? Kotak-kotak ini is that only simplification because of the grid system or what?
Yes, this is only simplification, Pak. Yeah, I still have a question about why Pak Harman or
Neville
choose the 10 to 10 kilometer.
Oh, that's just for us. It's just a way of choosing something that is larger than just a small patch. So the borders are not interesting. It's just that we need to choose something which is between like the very large scale and between the micro scale. And that's basically where we always see something is lacking.
Yeah. And that's also in that 10 by 10 kilometers, we also can also discuss the toll road, right? Because the toll road is also in that area. And as Neville mentioned, Pak Anto, the 10 by 10 kilometers square is also representing the whole Java, right?
Okay.
So if the discussion, maybe some other people would like to get into this, but I'm kind of interested in this zoning. Since the 70s, the zoning is a difficult issue. So probably it's very difficult to reinforce zoning. Then maybe we should look at zoning as something that we planners think, well, this is important because this is the area we'd like to keep still, but we need to find other ways to enforce it. Like, what would be a good driver to make the green and the blue stronger than it is now? Because at this moment we see that it's there's a lot of influx from outside. There's a lot of development. How can we make the local stronger? That, I think that would be a very interesting point of view.
I think, Yarman, normatively, zoning is still by law in Indonesia. Through the tata ruang, rencana tata ruang, we consider zoning as still the main instrument for spatial planning. Another instrument, even we can combine it with the law on sustainable agricultural practices, which can be transformed into very interesting term of what we call here as sawah abadi. The sawah abadi itu apa ya? Rice field, sustainable rice field, plus incentive, disincentive for the farmers. So in that context, actually, the issue in the case of Indonesia is only an issue of law enforcement to some extent. If we have a strong law enforcement and of course public pressure and others, also local community organization, including also farmers, that's something that we have to find in the future. A combination of zoning, law enforcement, community participation, and then incentive, disincentive, and then I think that's the idea of protecting landscape through planning is still possible.
Yeah. So we may have to expand from enforcement to other tools, such as the participation and engagement of the public, the general public.
Mbak Nisa, seems that you have so many ideas since last Monday, but we have the time to invite you to.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Actually, the agricultural practices, village and plantation also has been registered as sub-attribute of outstanding universal value. So there's a necessity for maintaining what the idea of desa kota is more like village instead of kota. And I think there's also a problem in our village. If we look at the village as a kind of metabolism, that we have to think about the whole picture, that as it mentioned before, that the younger people doesn't want to work at the village anymore. So for more sustained approach, I think we can find some kind of creative way to attract younger people to work on agricultural sector. That but actually it has already been registered at as one of the attribute of outstanding universal value, but mainly our focus of conservation or maintaining the managing the change is only on the monument itself. So it's also become a big challenge for us, because the rule say that the law said that we have to keep the landscape, cultural landscape or Saucana Budaya, but we don't know how. Then local people doesn't know that the cultural landscape is also part of the World Heritage, that also become a problem. So they think that their own land, they can make a development as long as it is in their own land. And so it's not part of any kind of World Heritage thing. So those kind of gaps is really need to be addressed. And maybe with the approach of desa kota, that reflecting on the needs of the outstanding universal value, it will give the power for more sustainable development, as like that make all people, we can make all people happy, but I think we can maintain the outstanding universal value of Borobudur that has been registered to UNESCO.
Bagus, Mbak Nisa. Arman, this is very important message from Mbak Nisa. Yeah, first on the importance of conserving desa kota as part of UOP, as Arinta mentioned, right? Not only the monument, but also the village, the Saucana Budaya, and partly also the sawah, the agriculture land. And that's something that Nisa saw. There's a gap between maybe local people are not really, or even the policymakers not really understand that UOUV of the Borobudur is not only the monument, but also the Saucana around the Borobudur. So increasing people awareness on the importance of Saucana is still important.
Yeah, I think awareness is one thing. Sometimes I'd like to change the idea of awareness into creating a shared narrative. So creating a shared narrative. I think the narrative in Yogyakarta, the shared culture in Yogyakarta, is very strong. And that's the reason why in Yogyakarta for a long time, no high-rise was being built. That's why in Bantul, no supermarkets can be built outside the villages. So that shared narrative, maybe that's not strong enough in this case. That's one thing. The other thing that I liked very much to hear was to hear you talk about the village as a metabolism, and not something that you should regard in dichotomy with the city. If it's a metabolism, if we want to keep people working on the agriculture, it should be fun to be, or it should be at least attractive to be working there. And part of it probably is to create a business model, or maybe a chain, which is closer to them, because what they do is they put a lot of work into almost no money. Well, if they could produce something with their products, so if they could already do something with not just the resources, but also try to create products, that might be interesting. But that means that probably we have to allow also some kind of small industry inside the villages. So we may have to suggest that a bit of the red is very crucial to make it more alive. What do you think?
I think I agree with that. And also shrinking villages not only happen in Indonesia, in almost all countries, the village is shrinking. Even in some country, the village and the city also shrinking. So the strategy and also the, I think we can collect some of lesson from other country, and so that we can have like a kind of menu of options. So we can arrange that what kind of thing that very appropriate for us. And but without those kind of knowledge, I think it will take a little bit longer to make some kind of creative way to yeah. I agree with you that we cannot only rely on awareness, but the concrete thing it's really important for the villagers.
Mm-hmm.
Because and also for the law, there's one criticism of the law of Tata Ruang is it's very abstract, and it's only mentioned that it should be you have to maintain the village atmosphere in surrounding Borobudur. But they don't mention what kind of village atmosphere it is and how it contributes to the cultural landscape. And I have already one discussion with the Balai Konservasi Borobudur, and they say that the villager doesn't really understood how big the house is allowed, or what kind of building style they should apply for their house, and those kind of sense of belonging that they are part of Borobudur cultural landscape is not there. So we think that it will be better if we also plan what a kind of like architectural laboratory in the village, so the village can consult with us. Is this big building is allowed or not, or is this small or this big building is feasible or not for the entire cultural landscape? Because for a village that's very far is maybe not really feasible, like those kind of big building. But the building that's really close to Borobudur, so the level of acceptance is maybe very different in terms of architectural design.
And then I think the idea, both ideas are very interesting. What you mentioned is that it's extremely important to not just keep focusing on the Borobudur, but to share experiences even with cities in Spain or Japan or all these areas where villages are shrinking.
And that's actually already, Armen, that's actually already in practice, you know, the development of balcondes, in several villages around the Borobudur is aimed for re-attraction of the, not to Borobudur only, to the surrounding Saujana. But that's related to the business model that you are talking, because what the government built is only physical, hall in every village, but not developing a real business model. And that's related to the another issue of, in fact, it's already practiced in many villages in Indonesia, is non-farming activities. Actually, yes, most of the people say that they are farmers, but actually, in fact, farmers is only part of their daily survival strategy. They are also engaged in non-farming activities, whether in the village or outside the village, working as a construction worker or small industry in the village, or working in the service sector in the small cities close to the village, because Borobudur is surrounded also by Muntilan, Magelang, small city, which offer also some urban job opportunity, and people commuting from several villages, or even as government workers, teachers. Remember that the capital, the Ibu Kota Magelang, the Magelang capital administrative complex are located in close to Borobudur, and many thousands of civil workers also living in villages around that area. So again, business model enable village unit to survive, or to develop, not only from farming but non-farming. Creative industry is something that we have to find in the future.
Yeah. Now,
Fajar.
Hello.
Maybe you have comment on whether the issue of network connectivity or the village economic development.
Maybe first thing I think I comment to what Nisa said before, that in fact we have big problem with our development culture, not cultural development but development culture, budaya membangun, how we construct something in our society, in our land. This is one of the problem that we need to take care of, I think, Pak Bobby, because as Mbak Nisa said, everybody think that they can do anything in their own land. This is not true actually, because land is not only belong to themselves but also belong to the society. But the problem is our development culture think like that. And most of the construction that disturb anything what Pak Harman said before is the informal construction process. Actually, most of them are actually houses of the people in that area, that they can do construction on their houses without any permission, only only permission from perhaps from the owner of the land, and maybe perhaps from the village government. Then if this opinion is true, then I think we need to do a kind of advocacy or empowerment to the village government. So how then they can understand what you call before
Coffee.
Yeah, OUV.
OUV. Sorry, OUV.
OUV. What the OUV is, what the the right of development is, and also what is the planning, like RT/RW or RDTRK is for their villages. Then because up until now we have a kind of gap in our planning system. The plan has been
Putus ya, Pak Fajar ya.
Ya, sorry.
Ya. Terus Pak, saya tadi yang masalah mungkin jaringannya.
The plan is dianggap presume has been finished if the plan has been legalized by the Perda. But then how the plan is implemented, it is assumed by the implementation by the dinas OPD in the kabupaten itself. This is actually only followed by those who do the construction following the government rules, but those who are not following the government rules are untouchable with the planning system, our planning system, Pak Bobby. Then perhaps the village government themselves should be empowered by the planning capacity, not planning capacity, but the implementation of the planning capacity. At least they don't they know where should they do the where the place they can do the development, the construction, and where the place that they cannot do the construction activities. And especially for the housing construction, the housing development. This is, I think, the most activities that become the biggest predator for the Saujana, what they have and what we have in every places in our villages, including in Borobudur. So then, sorry?
Yeah.
Can I ask something in that respect? You
Yes.
were talking about empowerment. Are you talking about formal empowerment? Because we can also think about empowerment from the community.
Yes. My opinion is maybe we need to do the empowerment for the village government. Here in Indonesia, every villages today have the right to control the development on the villages, on the village territory. Pak Harman, with the undang-undang or the law in 2013, the law of pemerintahan desa, the village government. So I think we need to do a kind of empowerment in the village level, not only the community themselves, but in the most important, I think, or the strategic point is the village government, so they can what do you call do the development management according to the plan, the RT/RW itself.
I think that's, Herman, what I always mentioned, under the new law on Undang-Undang Desa, now the village government actually have a quite strong power, including also that every village can develop what they call as BUMDes, Badan Usaha Milik Desa, the village enterprise unit. That's one thing. But up to the village, I'm thinking when you mentioned about the Bantul, the reason why Bantul have no supermarket until now is because of the Pak Idam Samawi, the Bupati, the regents, who 15 to 20 years ago started that idea and very easily just menerapkan Bupati letter, government regulation mentioning that there is no mall in the Bantul, and that's very simple. Which then, in my thinking, relate to the leadership of the Bupati. So the narrative, sharing of the narrative that you are talking to the village, not only to the villager, the farmers, but also on the local, the whole local hotel people. I think it's important to talk with the Bupati, with the Kecamatan, to share that knowledge, to share the narrative that the Saujana Budaya is important one in maintaining OUV of Borobudur, and they have some more even responsibility in that area, because they have a more direct relation with the head of the village. They have more direct relation, and somehow they also performing the local interest in this relation between global, national, and local. Bupati is a very important position.
I think that's indeed very very strong. I think the enforcement of the local
organization,
local government is extremely important. Is there a way to help them in this reinforcement? One of the things that I always think is that if everybody knows that some zones are protected and others are not, and Everybody knows that, and they see something is being built, and everybody knows something is wrong. That's a pretty strong social force against building in a wrong space. But if nobody knows, if it's unclear where you can build or not, it's a problem. So could it be of some assistance that the transparency of what is protected, but also the transparency of what is wrongfully built at a certain space is being basically guarded by the whole community? Like the whole community can also put in Google Earth their own little restaurant, for instance. Yeah? So everybody is able to add something on internet to show what they do. Is that something that we can use?
I think under the
I think Bobby is speechless now.
Yeah, I think there's a problem with that work.
actually under the monitoring system in which the local people can just easily send message. Now using Google will be very easily, yeah, for the local people to report any development surrounding in that housing. So that's one thing. Developing a monitoring system enable local people to participate. But one thing I'm amazed with Anto when you met with the Borobudur promotion, because that related to the external or Fajar called as predator, yeah, the big predator coming from Jakarta, which relate to the issue of land, another issue, Harman, land speculation. Yeah, two types of land speculation: investor who just like to got profit by buying land and selling the land. Yes, it's a total land speculator. The second one is the investor who really like to, they have enough money and they like to really invest in Borobudur because they saw that Borobudur is really an opportunity for future, profit. Can you tell more, Pak Ari, Badan Promosi Borobudur, for example, and how they are able to especially land issue, yeah, whether they use a village land, tanah desa, or they just bought private land in surrounding,
Ya, kemarin hanya global, tidak sampai pada ya. Tapi memang banyak orang yang terlibat begitu ya. The parties involved are quite diverse, yeah, with the involvement of many business, yeah. Yeah, this is a generator to destroy the atmosphere of Borobudur.
Dan mungkin apa benar Pak Anto ya, kalau dugaan saya, my guess is that those big investor are usually choosing the best site which have a nice landscape, right? Like Hotel Plataran in the top hill of the Borobudur, Harman, contrasted to the local development built by local people, as I mentioned before, which intensify the existing village. But those investors are really triggering the development outside the village, yeah, and especially in very nice landscape because they have so many, even learning from Bali, Labuan Bajo, Komodo, and so on and so forth. Now, even in the Gunung Kidul, Harman, most investors are really smart in choosing, very nice area which people are not considered good before, but with new technology, innovation, architecture, they can just repurpose the vacant land into very nice. Example is Hotel Plataran.
And how do you consider those developments? Are as threatening the South China or as strengthening the South China?
There's two aspects of this one. The first one is depending on the design. Yeah. If we let's say in the case of Amanjiwa Hotel, is a right international network of hotel considered very that's is already there for more than 20 years. But I think Amanjiwa is example of the nice design. Yeah. Was not really covering, so they are very smart. I mean, that's what one thing. Yeah, it depends on the architecture, the design. Yeah, but second, that still create a problem of the capitalization of the changes of land ownership from local people to big international investor. That is something that's of course. From the economic point of view, the local is also threatening. So two ways of looking at investor. One is the design issue. The second one is the changing of the ownership of the asset, local asset to the foreigner, not foreigner but for outsider. In terms of hotel, for example, like people like Busita, she joined, actually, she must talk about, I don't really melarang hotel, but what kind of hotel that can be developed. Yeah. Big investor from Jakarta always thinking about 4 or 5 star hotel in Borobudur and Gunung Kidul. While Busita thinking about why not just small lodgement hotel, built in the existing village, yeah, owned by local people. So in terms of economy and the design is also somehow maintaining the South China. So not the hotel itself. The discussion is on the design, the type, and investor, the capital.
So that brings me to another thing. The investors from outside are very smart people. They have a big network, and basically they're much more equipped to develop than most villages, basically. Yeah. So there's a problem in, I think, in the reinforcement of the villages. I very, very much like the idea of the architectural lab. That was just mentioned, and it sounds to me like kind of a smaller lab, but could there be something like a South China lab, that there is this board of people who look at all the different, so probably it can be professionals, local inhabitants, and maybe people from the government, who look at all the possible, more or less larger developments, and give a status to it, like whether it's possible or not, or move it into some direction. Because something like a lab like this, when it's not just government, but when it's something that it's kind of sustaining the shared narrative, and that's supported by the people, maybe that's a strong thing. What do you think?
It's based on it's based on the experience that has been implemented in Japan, that the local government planned architect or urban designer, and also university involved there to facilitate the communication between the local people and also the expert, and also the local leader. So they start from the local leader to give the influence to other people to have the same point of view in maintaining the cultural heritage. In that case, in the Japan case, is to maintain the cultural historical atmosphere of the village. So they take the opportunity. There's a kind of habit in Japan that every 10 or 15 years they have to renovate their house, and through those kind of association, they make approach to the person who want to rebuild the house to follow the design guideline that has already made by the local people themselves and together with the urban designer. But the problem is who will be assigned if in the case of Indonesia, because the village in Indonesia is very big, but in Japan it's very, very small. So it's kind of RT or RW, but in Indonesia is the geographical boundaries is very big in comparison with Japan.
Exactly, because we want the South China to be part of it. So
Lisa,
it's an interesting
sorry, I
challenge.
interrupt you. Sorry, Harman.
Yeah, go ahead.
Harman, Lisa. Harman, sorry, Harman. Harman.
Yeah.
Oh, why don't we develop a unique arsitektur Borobudur? Atma Jaya, Pak Arinto, Mbak Nisa, Bu Tami, ya, working together with IAI, arsitektur Borobudur. Ya. I remember Pak Anto,
Yes.
we have that kind of precedent, Harman. Pak Anto can say more. That Department of Architecture in the 1980s also have clinic architecture as a unit to serve people who like to build their own housing. So maybe we can develop that also, Pak Anto asik ya. Clinic architecture Borobudur architectural clinic. Open for everyone who like to build in Borobudur, local people, and then regularly we present example of what is considered good, bad, and so on and so forth. And that's through that kind of workshop we bit by bit develop a common sense of what is beautiful, what is South China. That's interesting, Harman.
I like this very much.
Ayo, Pak, gawe, Pak.
It's very interesting, but I think we have to start with the design guideline, because the Borobudur for entire South China Budaya has no design guideline for the building itself. So there's no RTBL. They have only Perpres Tata Ruang. That's very broad.
Can I? I think
Sure.
architecture is important, but the issue today is the landscape. So I think we should think about guidelines.
So then not only architect for Borobudur, but also planning for Borobudur, I think.
Exactly.
Because as I told you before, the Undang-Undang Desa actually ask the desa to be to have the desa development plan, and also the interdesa spatial development plan too. And this is the new instrument, I think, that introduced by the Undang-Undang Desa in 2014. That up until now, still it still become a new frontier for the planners in Indonesia. Not many planners want to go to desa. Actually, they still think desa is very small. Desa is not have a kind of prestigious thing. And maybe with Borobudur, Pak Bobby, or we can do some changes to open overview.
Halo Pak Fajar, terima kasih. Clinic planning and clinic architecture for Borobudur, ya. Planning and architectural clinic for Borobudur.
Yes. And actually, I have some experiences with
your.
Yeah, sorry, Pak Bobby.
Yeah, please.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I have some experiences with students to do desa development plan or spatial development plan for desa. Not many students want to do it. And this is actually...
And that plan is not only physical, right, Pak Fajar?
That's right.
RPJM Desa is not only physical, but also economic. So when Harman mentioned that the importance of having business model for the desa, we can put into the 5 years village planning, Harman.
Not 5 years, actually 6 years, Pak Bobby. So
6 years.
Yes, the plan of desa, there are two types of the plan for the desa. The first is the development plan for a desa, and then we have also, I mean, in the Undang-Undang Desa, we have also the term of the rencana kawasan pembangunan kawasan perdesaan, means that inter villages spatial development plan. So we can perhaps use these two instruments to improve the capacity of the village government and also the local people in the villages. I mean, I think perhaps, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we go back to the first presentation, we're talking about the mobility as a driver.
Yeah.
Do you think it will be possible to create zones? And I think the idea of zones could be very interesting, but zones where we can develop and zones where we can de-develop or undevelop.
Yeah.
So maybe it would be possible to create zones where cars are just not anymore allowed.
If we can introduce that kind of tools in the inter-villages spatial development plan, I think we can do like that, Pak Harman. Yeah, the problem, will the local community or the desa community will accept them, because the development, the desa development plan and also the inter villages spatial development plan should be accepted by the local people, by the desa themselves.
Well, one of the things that I always saw was that the desa, all the desa, in fact, have a kind of mobility structure that all the big cities at this moment in the world try to adapt, because it's a development plan where people on the bicycle and pedestrians have priority.
That's right.
That is already there. I think it's super interesting. It's extremely modern in a sense.
Yeah.
And it's very good for the livelihood or for the living environment.
That's right.
I mean, I think I agree with you that we can decide which part can be developed and which part should be preserved, because it will benefit for both area. First is we maintaining maintaining the cultural landscape. The second, we provide the sufficient oxygen for the people themselves, and we can control the development. And also, but there's one problem in areas surrounding Borobudur, that we cannot develop it vertically, because it maximally 10 meters of height of the building itself. So, and it is not allowed to build a basement. So there's those kind of two rules that we have to maintain and we have to consider when we think about concentrate the development itself.
So what you're talking about at this moment is capacity. So it might be interesting to figure out what the capacity of this landscape is to actually house certain developments. And probably it's a limited capacity. I think for planners, it's very important to know, because we can adapt all the elements around it. There's an agricultural capacity, a living capacity, capacity for industry. And it might be interesting to just study the capacity of this landscape.
Since we have Butami here, I forgot to ask Butami. She's knows a lot, includes Pak Arinto mengenai Magelang. I think one aspect that Ika Putra mentioned, Harman, is on how to link the Borobudur issue into more a broader regional context. In this case, of course, Joglo Semar, ya, Semarang, Jogja, and Solo. And that's what Pak Ika Putra mentioned in his text, which also include Magelang, Pak Anto dan so how to also distribute the economic activities especially tourist not only surrounding Borobudur but the whole Joglo Semar, including also the hotel. I remember when I joined the Borobudur Marathon, in which thousands of people coming from everywhere, it's difficult to find a hotel in Borobudur. So hotel in Magelang, some part of Yogyakarta, all also booked. Yeah? They're showing again the importance of Magelang area. Very interesting, nice city. Consider one of the most beautiful Saujana city. Also be part of this effort to protect Borobudur. Yeah, Utami, I don't know if you have some ideas on Pak Anto, yeah, to speed and lax, the discussion, because to some extent to reduce the traffic coming directly to Borobudur area, but to go around the Joglo Semar, I don't know, Merapi, Magelang, Semarang, Yogyakarta, Pantai Selatan, ya, Southern.
Yeah, I think the infrastructure plans needs to be combined with other infrastructure. Yeah, for example, how to change the mode from toll roads to collector roads. Where is the transfer-oriented development in some points, yeah, like to Borobudur, the transfer-oriented development can be at Palbapang or Muntilan.
Yeah.
For example, like this. So we can distribute the intensity of activities, yeah, to areas surrounding Borobudur.
What about Pak Butami, about the importance of public transport? Living in Blabak, most people traveling from Muntilan, Magelang, Borobudur are using public bus, right? Mustika and so on. But I don't see any public transport offering serving people around that area. Another issues on the tram. Yeah, I think you mentioned about the tram between linking Palbapang to apa Pak? But Darman, I don't know on your idea on increasing public transport in that area to be able to reduce at least, as Pak Anto mentioned, on the sound, the vibration and the noise, and then also the landscape.
I do think that public transport is a much more efficient way to move people from one place to the other place. And I also think that if public transport is done in specific corridors, the best would be, of course, railroad traffic, but it could also be in a different way. And if it's connected to certain stops, so not like the buses and the poles that stop everywhere, but really certain stops,
yeah,
then I think the impact in terms of noise pollution or in terms of tremor may be reduced, because people stop at certain places. Those places are designated. Those probably are also the growing areas. And I think what it can do is it can create this kind of very large network of smaller hotels that allow people to go to the Borobudur, to the area, and go back again without having a big impact on the areas itself. And it also allows, and I think that's very interesting, it allows for a distribution of this tourism marketing model to a larger area. So it's not completely focused on the Borobudur only.
Yes.
But everybody, like many other places, can also benefit.
What about the progress of a train linking Jogja to Magelang, Pak Anto? Have you heard about that one? Kereta Jogja Magelang, Pak Manhub, BKS.
Yes. No, I don't know yet about the development of this railway plan from Magelang to Jogja. Yeah. I don't know yet.
But there's something, Harman, maybe from this workshop I said, right? Maybe next time we can meet with some policymakers. But I remember very clearly that in our Ministry of Transport, who are the close friend of Pak Anto, always talking about the tram. About the train.
Yeah.
And now it's already linked train between Jogja Solo very nicely. As you mentioned, stop in several stop, yeah, very clear. And that's also become really important public transport linking Jogja to Solo. And then from Jogja to the new airport, this kind of thing. So train is one thing that the government are interested to invest actually. What do you think, Harman, about the tram? Pak Anto, yang kemarin Pak Anto buat apa? Tram apa? Itu ya, linking Palbapang to Borobudur. Are you talking about tram or something?
Sky train.
Yes, Sky Train.
Sky train.
Sky train.
Sky Train has a very strong visual impact.
Yes, very strong.
Yeah, but we can see the paddy rice field from the top.
Mr. Harman, I have one question. According to your research, how fast is the road development accelerate the land conversion in case of Borobudur?
Oh, we didn't really go that deep yet. So we're trying now to figure out a number of different tools and options. And basically what we do now is just to see the developments that are already happening and try to link them to certain drivers. I think that the capacity is depending on the shared idea of what the South China should be. Because the Desa Kota is something new. The Desa Kota has grown. So there's no original Desa Kota. There was an original Desa area, but no original Desa Kota. So it's always in progress. I do think that when you look at the capacity, you have to take at least the agriculture as a priority, because the agriculture and the way the agriculture is being irrigated is essential. It's the main clue to the whole landscape. So the capacity for red will be defined by the minimum that we would need for the green and the blue, I think. Mm-hmm. So this is a question we should ask the group of Ibu Wibik and Neville.
Yeah.
And hopefully they have it.
Lisa, I think we learned from the Neville presentation on the whole Java and Central Java, right? Because he mentioned about the timing.
Yes.
After 2005.
2005 and then after 2005.
2005 something. It was in the past, in the past 15 years, yeah, already. Is the phrase, the phrase footprints of the growth is so extensive in the past 15 years. Yeah. And that's with the condition. So now with the toll road, yeah, again with the new toll road, the new highway, maybe the footplace will become will going very fast in the future. Harman, Mbak Nisa, when you say about the RTBL, I think Harman should know that Harman, we have at least 3 level of spatial planning. The first one is RTRW, this master planning, and then the second one is RDTR, the rencana detail tata ruang, detail planning with the scale of 1 to 5,000. Yeah. So when you talk about zoning, we can based on the RDTR with 1 to 5,000 is detailed enough to really the planner is detailed enough to very clearly stated the boundary where the agricultural land should be. So really a zoning model in the RDTR. But for the RTBL, it's more detailed because it's concerned almost the design guideline concerning the height of the building, number of floor, the setback, the apalagi ya kalau RTBL ya Mbak Nisa ya, the building coverage, the setback, the building height. What others are covered in the RTBL ya? Street furniture, is that a street?
Yes, street furniture. Also.
Street furniture even.
Yeah.
Sorry, Harman.
Street furniture, that's interesting.
Yeah,
but it's very small scale already.
Yeah, but that's also create an issue. I took some picture of the widening trottoir in Borobudur area with where the architects put some street furniture. Has really create total difference between before and after. Yeah, I see that now Borobudur area, the center of the city, are becoming more and more urban, and the street furniture are really changing the sense of place to some extent. Yeah, puts many lighting, very bright at night. Yeah, with very much like Jakarta to some extent, the trottoir, the pedestrian. So I don't know, this again, the design is the devil is in the detail. Yeah, can we have a different design between street furniture for Jakarta, for Yogyakarta, and street furniture for small town like Borobudur, for example?
Pak Bobby, can I try to back for a while about the plan of railway network, from Palbapang to I only saw from the animated video made by DAY2 in 2018. Yeah. So whether or not it will be realized, I have no information. And for example, I'm worried about the sky train to Borobudur, which may cause disturbance in the form of noise, vibration, and view, as well as the loss of sacred soul of Borobudur. Yeah, I'm worried. This is not my idea, but the idea of this plan. Yeah.
So we have to check. Yeah, and to talk to the Ministry of Transportation actually on that plan. Bu Tami, ada informasi mengenai di Magelang, Bu Tami, RTBL maybe?
Kalau RTBL lebih ke Pak Anto ya. But maybe I just want to mention that saya pakai bahasa Indonesia saja ya Pak Bobian, dibantu Pak Bobi saja daripada saya berpikir untuk ngomong bahasa Inggrisnya. Kalau dari tadi saya mendengarkan bagaimana kita mengkoneksikan antara Borobudur dengan wilayah yang lain terkait dengan public transportation, maybe I just want to mention that Magelang City can to be a magnet. Jadi kalau saya melihatnya Magelang ini sebagai suatu magnet yang tidak bisa kita pungkiri juga keberadaannya. Namun memang saat ini sering tertinggal ya, sering dilupakan bahwasanya itu harusnya menjadi bagian yang terintegrasi dengan Borobudur. Nah, kalau tadi kita bicara public transportation yang dari Blabak, yang dari Salaman dan sebagainya, saya malah berpikirnya bagaimana kita mencoba mengkolaborasikan antara public transportation ini antara Kabupaten Magelang secara keseluruhan ya, bukan hanya sekedar Borobudurnya saja, tapi juga Kabupaten Magelang yang dari Grabak, dari Secang, dari Kaliangkrik termasuknya itu yang terintegrasi dengan transportasinya Borobudur dari Jogja, tapi juga itu melayani beberapa area-area menarik yang ada di Kota Magelang. Karena justru itulah sebenarnya yang diharapkan bisa menghidupkan semua wilayah secara keseluruhan saujananya si Borobudur ini, karena kita tidak bisa melepaskan diri. Saujana Borobudur ini kan kaitannya dengan Kota Magelang juga, tapi juga dengan Grabak juga, yang ternyata itu lingkupnya itu tidak hanya sekedar Borobudur dalam radius yang sangat kecil gitu. Jadi public transportation sendiri juga harus dipikirkan antara Kabupaten Kabupaten Magelang yang wilayah utara, selatan, termasuk yang barat, dan juga yang tidak bisa kita lupakan beberapa kebijakan pemerintah itu kaitannya dengan RT/RW itu yang peraturan pemerintah yang ternyata Dieng sendiri juga harusnya menjadi bagian dari perencanaan yang connecting public transportation itu. Jadi sebenarnya kita ini berada di masalah ada beberapa titik-titik yang sangat menarik tapi tidak terkoneksikan dengan baik. Itu saja Pak Bobi sepertinya sih.
Carmen, I think what Tami mentioned is important. When we talk about the transportation, we have to have even a broader transportation network, public transportation network in the whole Kabupaten Magelang, even the Dieng, because so many actually tourism potential outside Borobudur, and the issue is only access to that several interesting tourism attraction. That's one thing. I have to add also that actually if we have a very efficient public transportation, that will serve not only tourism activities but also the local economics of the whole region. When we are talking about non-farming activities, that's related to the importance of transportation for non-farming activities, small industries, creative industries, services, and so on. So if we have very efficient public transport linking the whole area of Magelang, that will be very nice. Sekarang nggak ada ya Bu Tami. Dulu waktu saya kecil kan bis Mustika, sekarang tuh bis Jogja Magelang saja nggak ada ya?
Masih ada Pak.
Masih ada.
Masih cuman memang tidak bisa kita pungkiri Magelang punya angkutan sendiri yang darling yalah, yang jalur 1 sampai 10 ya Pak Anto ya. Kemudian yang kabupaten sendiri punya, nah yang jadi masalah Kabupaten Magelang sendiri juga punya wilayah masing-masing dan itu tidak terkonek dengan baik gitu Pak Bobi yang tadi saya katakan tadi.
Maksudnya antara Magelang antar kabupaten public
sendiri juga ya kadang-kadang putus itu loh.
Jenisnya apa tuh aku nggak tahu nganggo model bis ini atau apa?
Engkel ya, ada engkel. Yang dari Grabak itu engkel ya Pak Anto ya?
Engkel ya.
Engkel dari Pucang itu kan sebenarnya. Jadi antar wilayah sendiri juga banyak yang ini.
I think Harman, this is important information actually for local economic. Some people still use public transportation linking small town in that area, small town and villages, and that's related to, for example, that remind me on the market network, local market network, in for distributing agricultural product, so many, a market in that area serve as a hub for agricultural product, and that's partly served by public transport. So when we talk about public transport, not only for the tourism but also for the really local economic development. It's already 3. I don't know if we can come to some conclusion, and then I will contact Bu Wiwi whether we can back to the pleno and then share our ideas to the pleno. Yeah.
I did a bit of writing. I will share it again.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not complete, but I have the feeling that we are talking about 3 major elements: strengthening the existing red of the villages, creating a Borobudur o.r.c.a clinic,
Yeah.
and defining the landscape capacity.
Yeah.
To house red. And basically what we can do in that is if we strengthen the red, the villages, we need to use global experiences on shrinking villages. So we have to create this communication network. We need to create business models for non-farming models and to allow for smaller industries in the villages. And what you just mentioned now is we have to reinforce the local market network. When we look at the Borobudur o.r.c.a clinic, that's important because we have to look at the design. Probably we have to look at also the impact of noise and, well, the spiritual impact of what is being developed. And we have to look at land use and ownership, both from the local and the foreign investment. But I think the Borobudur o.r.c.a clinic is something that everybody agreed on, could be very interesting. And then the landscape capacity should not just be defined for the immediate area of the Borobudur, but there's much more around that can attract tourism. And probably we need to define zones of speed. Am I a bit, is this a bit following the discussion to your idea, or do you miss something?
Did you put already on the important public transport for local economic development and tourism as well?
I will put it in the existing red villages.
How about the improvement of the village institution, Pak Harwin?
Village
stronger village. Stronger village
business model for the village government. I think the term business model is important, Harman, for the village.
Yeah, and the link between the non-farming small-scale industry with the local product is also important, Harman. So it could be make what you call the what is the term of jaminan pasar, Pak Bobi? Halo.
Yeah.
Yeah, improving the
jaminan pasar.
Ya, jadi local produknya itu terjamin terjual begitu. Ketika ada industri yang melakukan pengolahannya.
Smaller industries, huh?
Sorry?
I think we can share that under the smaller industries in the villages.
In the villages that what you call absorb the local product, Parman.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah. In that situation, in that links, then the what you call the asset for village productivity will be preserved, because we need to improve the what you call the profit from the local asset of the villager or the farmers. Without having the well-being from their asset, then they will easily to sell their land to other people, to people from the city that will become the predator of the sojana over there.
Okay, so what you say is that we need to create business models for non-farming models and business models for farming.
Non-farming models based on the farming activities, based on the local farming activities.
Yeah.
Okay.
To increase the value of farming, right?
That's right.
For example, culinary, Harman. So many nice local snack in every village, you know, from
right.
cassava to
I know. You showed me already.
That's maybe, we can just easily, you know, transform that local snack into tourism, you know, commodity. I mean, and creative industry, of course. Yeah, so many nice handicraft in every village. Yeah, the pottery. There's so many interesting creative local creative industry. Yeah. Put into the business model and so tourism, farming, and non-farming creative industry. Yeah, tourism, farming, and non-farming local economic development. Yeah, business, or we can just say business model for local economic development. At the same time, also in empowering the local governance, village governance, including also the PUMDes, yeah, the village enterprise unit to be able to capitalize or mobilize their village asset, including also land and others.
Actually, including linking the village government to the local government, Pak Bobby. Because the village government themselves cannot do many things, but the resource belongs to the kabupaten government. So linking the village government to the kabupaten government, local government, I think it is very important in terms of the institutional capacity development.
Yeah. I contacted Buiwi and they need the blue group need 5 to 10 minutes more, Harman. I think we so we will join the pleno at 3:45 or 3:50, and then we have another 30 minutes in pleno and then closing. Any others ideas maybe from Pak Anto, Putami, Bunisa? Did you mention about the RTPL? What do you think, Harman? The importance of having RTPL design guideline, or at the same time also the clinic, Saujana clinics?
But I think design guidelines are always good, but I'm always a bit afraid of very strict guidelines. What I think more interesting is to have a combination of the guidelines, but also continuous discussion. So I think the Saujana clinic is interesting only if sometimes you or Pak Eko Prawoto or some foreign architects come and share their views. And also only if some other people, maybe from villages in Jawa Barat, tell us about how they see things. Or this, for instance, this, I think you showed me once the zero waste village close to Yogyakarta.
Arman,
and there's some people.
That's why the importance of coming to Arman.
Yeah.
That's why the importance of for you and Neville to coming to Borobudur, and we can have Pak Anto we can have 3, 4, 5 days workshop to mimic because Sita already have with some Japanese,
Feels
sebenarnya
cool.
suku Pak Nisa. We can take some specific village, and then we can work together with that village, and we develop a model, design model, including also business model for a specific village. And we stay on that village for like at least 3-4 days. What do you think?
I love it. I love it. Combined with the idea of, again, having these very good snacks all around. I think work is pleasure then.
But that's something that we can propose. Yeah, I don't know, Mbak Nisa, we can propose Butami, a workshop on site, with a specific case study. If you are able to come, that's fine. But if not, we can also do a hybrid model, right? What we need, Pak Anto, I think will be interesting. After pandemic, is kind of as about relaxation after the pandemic in Indonesia. Hopefully, at the end of this year, December something. I'm sure that December, because Pusita also have a nice project, Harman. Pusita and Duita, Nisa, Butami, is asked by UNESCO with small grant to document the existing traditional architecture in Borobudur. That's why on Saturday I went there with Pusita. I was a driver, only, spent some day, 1 day in Borobudur, and still actually even very close to the Pak Anto, very close to Borobudur, within only 1 kilometer radius. There's still so many, nice traditional architecture, wooden, bamboo, and so on and so forth. Very interesting landscape. Never, and tourism never. That's why also the importance of pedestrian, linking the main road of the Borobudur to the internal side of the village, even very close to the Borobudur. Bagus, nanti usul Bu Sita ya Pak Anto ya, Pak Nisa ya.
Sip.
Nek ora karo Bu Sita aku ndak distukani kok. Pos saudara budaya. Tapi ketawa-ketawa itu Tapi I said Harman to other, I don't know why Bu Sita is not joined, but we will ask Bu Sita to have a workshop on site there.
Pak Bobi,
That would be great.
Tadi Bu Sita sudah masuk ke Pak Bobi, tadi Bu Sita sudah masuk ke breakout, sudah saya masukkan ke red, tapi tidak masuk, kurang tahu juga sih Pak.
Sana?
Iya, tadi
that's good.
Sudah sempat masuk, tapi mungkin belum di-assign atau seperti apa, kurang paham.
She's so busy, lecturing, and also important to mention, Harman, I forgot to mention, and even also forgot to invite them. So many progressive, but at the same time on loyal young local actors who so far served as a defending of the Borobudur. So if we have workshop, then we can. I met with Jack. I met with Buya. Move to the area and open small.
It's a difficult connection, I guess. We lost you a bit, Pak Bobby.
I don't know. The internet in my room is not stable, and now I was talking about the importance of local actors on Borobudur who, yeah, very progressive, very loyal. Yeah, so many local actors, but now maybe not mobilized. If we have workshops, so it will be interesting to invite them also.
All right, I keep adding things to the chat. Maybe you can also add. So what I've added now is the many local progressive and loyal actors. I think it fits very well into the Sajana Clinic. So Sajana Clinic should be really addressing, really engaging these people.
Yeah. Thank you, Pak Anto.
Yeah.
Anta mentioned he has to leave because of other activities. But thanks, Mas. Yeah, we will continue of our activities. Yeah, maybe.
Thank you, Pak Bobby, and
Yeah.
friends.
Armen, I think before Mbak Nisa, yeah, I think for the next we have to discuss also Harmen, but is if we are very sure that we come to very interesting conclusion from this second workshop, then we can move to a bigger workshop. For example, inviting, because SITA for already several months, yeah, Pak Anto, yeah, you know, right? Infrastructure plus, yeah. So maybe we can start to communicate with Busita Group. That's one thing, and then maybe some policymakers each have to present the result of their discussion so far. That will be interesting.
Sure, probably.
Very good. Yeah.
Mbak Nisa, just
Okay.
what kind of involvement that you yourself in Borobudur so far? I mean,
Okay, actually, we have communicated with the Borobudur Conservation Office that nowadays we are planning, we are working on heritage impact assessment, and there's very limited information and also tools to measure is that the development is impacted or not. So our university tried to assist the Borobudur Conservation Office to have more definite kind of measurement. Like for the Saujana Budaya, we try to identify what kind of element that is appear on the Saujana Budaya nowadays, such as the telecommunication towers, and also big building. And we want to look at it from the digital architecture point of view. So we can measure it how far and how big the building is allowed nearby the Borobudur. So we can give the people the approximate, like really approximate guidance to follow, not like nowadays, like yeah, you have to maintain the village atmosphere. They don't know about the village atmosphere. They don't know, they only know about the measure, they only know about the height, and it's very difficult to people in the village to understand that the Saujana Budaya in Borobudur is until the Perbukitan Menores, so it's very far away. And so it's difficult for the people to know that their building is contribute to the changes of the Saujana Budaya. So I think those kind of measurement according to the distance from the Borobudur itself, because the preservation is, it say that it should be maintained, the view from Borobudur and view from the surrounding mountain to Borobudur. So those kind of view we have to maintain. So first we want to identify the view from Borobudur, what kind of elements that is appear nowadays, and maybe we can change the design, and maybe the outcome basically only on to give the approximate measurement for the people, so they can understand. So I can build like 100 meters square of building with this kind of height in this kind of distance, something like that.
I think what is
very
important. Important. Did you use visual landscape assessment like what people usually do? I mean, they with some picture, landscape picture, then and the
Yes.
simulation,
Yes,
3D perhaps, yeah.
Yes, in collaboration with because Balai Konservasi Borobudur has already recorded the landscape itself every year, so we can understand the differences, development, and also we can actually we will also send those kind of simulation to the people themselves, so we can get the acceptance of the people, which kind of the cultural landscape is acceptable and what kind of cultural landscape. But it's still really in initial stage of the research.
I think what is very
that's
interesting.
very important, Anissa, Mohammed.
I think it's very important. One of the things that I like very much is if we combine this in this Borobudur Sauchana clinic. The clinic is not just a place where people can go to get advice, but the clinic is also an active research institute. And I think what we should add to this is that it's also will have a proper judicial place in policy. So you have these three levels, so the RT, RW, and the other levels. It might be interesting to link, to see whether this clinic could be linked to one of them. Like you can do this to find that it's allowed for. It's something similar that we have in the Netherlands.
Let's do the workshop. Yeah. Let's do the workshop at the same time. Also use that workshop for opening ceremony of the clinic Saujara Budaya Borobudur. At least we have already three groups are presenting: the Sita group, Harmen group, and Nisa group at Majaya group. Very interesting.
Okay.
We have to move to the pleno, I guess, because yeah. So I don't know whether we have to actively leave or the in time, or you will
Yes,
move directly.
I will move one by one, please. Yes,
mine.
please.
Okay, yeah.
I will back.
Not nature. It is not a natural system. There is still a conflict between technology and nature, and that's not to be that's not to mean we shouldn't emphasize innovation, but we should also be skeptical of people who blindly trust in technology. So it's a very and I wish I had a more clear-cut conclusion, but it is again a balance.
Yeah, thank you, Neville. I think we already have our all participants back. Pak Bobby, Harman, are you already join us? Not yet.
I'm there.
In the process. Okay.
And Bobby is joined.
Thank you, Neville, for your additional comment, but unfortunately, maybe we can keep the following discussion for the pleno session, yeah, Neville? And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Armin, how was your session?
It was an interesting session. We had a number of nice candidates. I think we will wait until Pa Bobby is here to really do the report of this. But I like very much the discussion because it went from the notion of preservation to the notion of actually strengthening a number of red elements. So the discussion basically was showing a balance, the kind of balance that I think we need. So it's a bit of a, it's really what was being stressed is that in order to be able to preserve, you indeed need to invest in a number of issues, sometimes even in red.
Pa Bobby is already here, Herman.
Okay, Pa Bobby is here. Very well.
With the hat.
Having some snack, sorry.
Enjoying his snacks. I'm sorry to interrupt your snack.
So what I supposed to do? No, I think the agreement was for each group to present the point agree in the red and blue group, right? And then hopefully we can come to integration or conclusion. And then lastly, we may talk about what about the future. And I like very much the last part of the what about the future. From our group, for example, we are proposing the clinic Saujana for Borobudur, for example, or workshop on the field, yeah, with specific village to work on, for example, and but of course depend on the whether Harman and Neville can come to Borobudur at the end of this year. But okay, to start, maybe Harman, can you report to the Pleno on some point we agree on from the red group?
Sure, sure.
I don't know who will represent report to from the blue and green group.
Yeah. The red will start first, or the red or the blue-green group will start?
Please, Harman, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Sure.
Okay.
So I think we can bring down the discussion to a number of 4 important points.
Are you going to share the points?
Sorry?
On the screen? Are you going to share to the screen the point you write already?
I can see if I can do that. Let me have a look. There's a lot of things happening here. Yes.
Yeah. Clear.
All right. Essentially, what we discussed is first of all, we need to strengthen the business model of the existing red, the villages. So there's a lot of things mentioned here. There's we heard about the continuous growth from Neville. We're still talking about also some kind of shrinkage. So we have shrinking villages in the sense of we have shrinking agricultural interest of the villages, and probably it's very good if we use a global network to share experiences on shrinking villages. What is essential in this case anyway is that we need to work on business models for non-farming issues, specifically non-farming that is related to the local assets, so probably non-farming related to whatever is being produced in the farming economy, and even then allow for smaller industries. So while we are aware that we should not grow too much in the red, we should grow at least a bit. We should grow at least these smaller industries and maybe also a market network. And this market network is depending on a strong public transport system. That is still lacking. So the public transport system is not broad enough, not wide enough, and it's not sophisticated enough. And that's something that we really need to invest on. The other thing is the Borobudur Sarjana Clinic. The idea is that there's a lot of, a lot is unclear about the Sarjana, not only to the professionals, but also to the locals and also to investors from abroad. And there are some interesting examples from Japan, actually also a bit from Holland, to kind of create a clinic or a laboratory on architecture, and we then moved it towards Sarjana, a lab of professionals and academics to constantly do research and simulations, and to actually share them with everybody which is a stakeholder. And this clinic should have a strong position in policy. So it should be linked to either the RT/RW or to one of the three levels of of policy commitment. Looking at the design is one. As Ibu Sita Laretna said, there's nothing wrong with some very well designed hotels in the neighborhood, but also looking at ownership and also looking at the way land use is being done. This Borobudur Sarjana Clinic might be a very strong asset to actually create this common narrative. And probably we should also use it for sharing ideas. So it's both, it's both, how do you call it? Scheidsrechter. A referee.
Judge.
A judge. It's both a judge, it's both, and a researcher, but it's also a public platform. It's a discussion platform. This can only be fed by a very strong research to the landscape capacity. So there, what we should take into mind is that there is a certain landscape capacity. So the sky is not the limit here. It's definitely impossible to do a lot of things. And that's something that we can already start to investigate, what the capacity would be in certain different scenarios of the Borobudur area. And in that capacity, we might define a number of zones. So already there are some zones defined by the UNESCO Heritage Assessment, but we could go a bit beyond that. We could define zones of different development speeds. And then I'm talking about really develop, slowly develop, or maybe even undeveloped. Maybe we could even close down roads, for instance, as Neville suggested. It's one of the things that we also suggested a couple of years ago for the Bantul area. Basically, these are the 4 points that came out of the Red Group. Am I being complete here, Kabobi?
Thanks, Neville. But to add Neville's presentation, for the improved linking of village governments, that's also involved the idea of empowering or make use of Undang-Undang Desa, which give more authority for the village governments to mobilize their asset. So not only linking the village government to the local government, also empowering village governments to be able to use their own resources, but also to defend the local interests of the in Borobudur. Yeah, that's. Terima kasih, Armen. So we move to the blue and green group. Who's going to present? Bu Wiwi.
Please, Neville, you would like to start? Or
Sure,
yeah.
I can. I keep it short. It was a very interesting session and a surprising session. Very clear in many ways and a lot of consensus, but with a very for me anyway, surprising twist. So in a nutshell, we started with the premise that planning seems to be quite ineffective in this environment. We heard that actually new infrastructure is almost inevitable and will have a big impact, but maybe looking from the green and blue, and in our group that was mainly looking from our agricultural community, that could actually be seen as an opportunity. It was even described as a way to survive from urban life, which is, I think, is pretty exciting. So the lens was that from an architectural, cultural cooperative, could you create a larger community by bulging different plots together, forming larger groups, larger cooperatives, maybe even what was mentioned, an agri-megalopolis, something Harman and I have also discussed, a sort of a post-COVID metropolis, maybe even an agri-aeropolis, an agriculturally oriented a city that is also tapped into the infrastructure of global networks through the airport, without losing, I hope I pronounced it right, the Pundan, the local kind of spirit of the area. Now, the surprise to me was that there is, when you don't have the power of traditional planning, there is a strong trust in what technology can do in this environment. So really, I think there was a consensus to promote innovation and let's say green tech development. There was also a critical note that this is indeed an urgent message, that there is real damage in the area, that there's real deforestation in the area, and that actually these technologies might even, we also heard that term, self-empower also local communities. To wrap up, one interesting point, in the beginning, it was described as a landscape of pockets of different speeds of development, which is something I really want to investigate in more detail. So even though the landscape looks fairly even and equal between rural and non-city and non-city, in reality, even within the rural landscape, there are clear moments that are growing fast and areas that are growing slow. So it's very important to distinguish. And finally, if we are to embrace this technological future, maybe we could even have better designed, very interesting presentation, better designed highways. A highway is not necessarily so bad and scary if you do it well.
Well, I like the idea of development, existing development as an opportunity rather than as that's one thing. If I may comment also on the farm and non-farm activities or agriculture and non-agricultural ideas, dichotomic way, farming and because in fact, in reality, people are doing farming and non-farming in a kind of mix, interesting mix between farming and non-farming. So when you mentioned about agriculture, we thought mentioning about the non-farming activities, maybe, I don't know, but that's one comment from my side. Yeah, farming and in practice, farming and non-farming activities is blended as a part of the survival strategy of the people. Yeah. But when you talk on the agricultural, even with a larger idea of, aero agriculture something, but we don't have to forget about the non-farming or the link between agriculture and non-agriculture product. How to make the more value of the agricultural for more, and that's involve the creative, innovative industry. That's my comment. Short one. Any other comment from Bowie?
Yeah. I would like just a little bit adding Neville statements, like Neville conclusion, that there are some interesting terms, highlighted points regarding the expected situation in the future. Like Pak Eko mentioned about the mega rural areas, because we mostly talk about mega urban. And I think the idea of, or the term of mega rural areas is something interesting, promoting agro farming, and some participants also mentioned about this as well, the importance of rural industrialization, the added value from the agriculture sector, and the way we need to focus on the empowered local people. Another terms also, there's a lot of maybe some participants. We have Pak Didi, Bu Ika, and Pak Debi from the government mentioning about the importance of and also Bu Titin, I think also remind all of us to and also Mas Rifai also mentioned about the importance of governance, the issue of integrative planning, controlling mechanism in our spatial planning, in our agrarian policy, density policy, and the backbone is actually the governance itself. Another idea is also about this, the Chakra Mandala from Pak Ferry mentioning about the importance to bring the idea of circular economy. He stated as the Silk Road of Borobudur, to combine between traditional and with modern system. And then another highlight from Pak Arif is, I like the idea is we cannot only compromising, but we need to innovate. So to promote this blue-green, we need innovation. We cannot just talking about combination, compromising, but balancing or something like that, but the keyword will be the innovation through the use of technology. There's interesting presentation from Pak Arif as well. And then, either Pak Harman or Neville has mentioned about mobility, the transportation is also mentioned several times. And there's also important spot to be further investigated. Neville, I think in terms of our spatial analysis, we have Palbapang Toll Gate, we have Bukit Menore, we have the concept of agro-aerotropolis. I think we need to have further investigation to this area for our further steps, for the next step of our work. Okay, I think that's all my additional notes. I believe Pak Neville has mentioned also most of the part. Pak Bobby, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, PWW. If you have comment, please. But at the same time, I write down in the chat on what next. Put there at least 3 ideas. I was thinking of the wider, another bigger workshop, because at least we have already 3 groups, talking on almost the same issue. The first one is a Busita group who already for months and months talking about infrastructure development in Borobudur together with Pak Wihana to present the result of I think more than 6-month discussion. Second, this group, we may present our ideas from 2 workshops, and the third group is from Atmajaya University. Bu Nisa, she mentioned very interesting exercise working together with the Borobudur conservation unit, discussing or exercising the landscape of the from the Borobudur's perspective. So at least we have already 3 groups working on the same issue. If every group can present the result of the discussion, that will be very interesting. I don't know if, for example, Pak Arif with his group from Pustral, Pusat Studi Transportasi, already have some result, study result on that area. That's the wider workshop or broader workshop. Second is on the clinic idea of clinic Saujana. And I think we can make use in this context several development cases in Borobudur for material for discussion, for example. Either we can ask Busita to present her project on UNESCO on documenting the traditional architecture in the area, or either we can also ask someone to make some, but we can focus on one specific village. And it will be interesting if we can work together, going to the field in one specific village, and then document on the changes of that landscape and present as the material for exercising in the clinic Saujana. And then third one, I was thinking about the possibility of joint studio, can be international. We have a lot of experience, and in this case, Budisa, we can work together with Atmajaya, UNDIP, even China, on international joint studio, maybe early next year on the next semester, or bring whatever the time that we can do that. And maybe for one is on how to use the Borobudur as a continuous exercise for our planning and design studio in our campus. Case study for the planning and design studio. So for example, from Gajah Mada, I can suggest Borobudur as one of the area for student planning studio, and Pusita is already I think used the Borobudur for the apa istilahnya itu design studio, maybe Atmajaya also. So at least 4 ideas in the future. Please comment, Pak Arif, maybe.
Okay, thank you, Pak Bobi. Actually, for this kind of studio, I think I can contribute from especially the methodology for innovating or provide solution for contracts, as I explained in the group green and blue. So we have quite proven methodology to solve quickly. It's very important now, it's quickly, very fast, very consistent, and I believe it will help. And it's not kind of against the existing expertise that you already have, because we have like environmentalists, we have transport specialists, we have maybe a heritage specialist. We just equip ourselves to make fast decision for innovating using this methodology. So this is something that I can offer. Actually, we can having a workshop for a specific step-by-step method, but this is that I can offer, Pak Bobi. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Arif. Any other comment? Maybe from the government side, maybe Bu Ika Yonita. I don't know from your Kulon Progo side, for example, what is actually, if we are talking about the future after this workshop, what kind of, I don't know, need actually from the local government side. I mean, or what you may need is only a collaboration and a friends to talk with, because I know that some government official usually, what I need is just a partnership, people from outside government to talk with. I don't know. Ika?
Yes, okay, Professor Bobby. Maybe for the next project or discussion, we still need, study really about the concept for the agroanthropologist that which might be maybe in the future it need a commitment to realize the future or realize what the concept, because it's been a dilemma for us. In other hand, we need to maintain the agriculture sector, but we need to also respond to the international or maybe the growth of dynamic of the development. I think that's kind of discussion. And also on the planning studio that maybe from UGM also a lot of become a objective or locus for the planning studio from UGM for the Aerotropolis. I think that's Prof. Thank you.
Yeah. Are you saying that? Yeah. Good. From the Central Java, maybe representative Pusdataru, maybe Bu Wiwi, ya. If, or Pak Didi from the Magelang Regency, maybe if still there here.
Ya, terima kasih Pak Bobi. Saya mendengarkan diskusi para pakar ini luar biasa ini. Luar biasa sekali Pak Bobi, membuka wawasan kami tentang tingkatan kepentingan Borobudur untuk bagaimana kita mengembangkannya. Karena selama ini kita hanya lurus patuh dengan peraturan, yang mana peraturan-peraturan ini ada yang tumpang tindih, ada yang belum lengkap, ada yang masih menimbulkan konflik. Untuk itu ini suatu studi yang sudah didiskusikan ini nanti bisa dibukukan menjadi referensi. Jadi saya lihat ada beberapa gagasan dari para pakar, ada Pak Arif, ada Pak Rifai. Ini kalau boleh kami nanti menjalin komunikasi, ada istilah baru di dalam area bagaimana menjaga Borobudur tapi tetap dikembangkan. Tidak kaku, nggak boleh berkembang, tapi ini ada hal yang baru yang semestinya bisa dengan teknologi, dengan inovasi tentang bagaimana kita menjaga keutuhan alam sekitar Borobudur, tapi perkembangan yang ada, tuntutan ekonomi yang ada untuk tetap berkembang ini bisa kita fasilitasi. Ini pertanyaan besar, bagaimana kesejahteraan itu didapat dengan tetap menjaga konservasi. Demikian Pak Bobi.
Terima kasih Pak Didi. I think Harman and I feel it's a great workshop according to Pak Didi, and he got a lot of inputs, especially on the idea of conservation, explanation of change, that development can be somehow mediate with conservation. Yeah, and what he needs is continue collaboration between us. Because what the local government do so far is just to follow the regulation, and we know that the regulation to some extent overlapping, conflicting each other. So through this kind of workshop, help them to have new ideas outside the box, not just following the government regulation. That's what he mentioned. Yeah. That's all I think from the government side. Please, other participants, if you like to have a short last comment on our workshop.
Pak Eko from Pusdataru sent me message saying that he is in another event, so he is apologized not to be able to his direct comment. So please, Pak Bobi, continue.
Yeah. Now I'm asking your ideas on what I wrote here. The next workshop maybe, or we will see. Yeah, I think Harman, Neville, we can talk first after this workshop. And as Neville mentioned in the chat, we will summarize the conclusion of red and green breakout group as the starting point to conceive the initial Metro Java 2045 planning vision. From that, and maybe we can start talking to others groups talking the same issue like Busita and Nisa.
Sure, Pak Bobi. And certainly this is not the end of our discussion. I mean, we need to think the continuation.
What do you think, Harman and Neville? I think I have to close before closing. We can ask Harman and Neville to have a concluding remark.
Yeah, please.
Harman first, maybe, or Neville first.
Well, I think it's very interesting. I see a lot of there's a lot of energy that we can see in this, and for me, there are two things mentioned in both groups. On the one hand, the cultural cooperation, or the cultural agricultural cooperation. On the other hand, we have this idea of the clinic, and I think these two ideas are very well to be combined. I think it would be very interesting to figure out if there is a clinic that will be under the wings of the cultural cooperation, and that will allow academics and professionals, and allow also the public to take part in researching, in debating, and also in judging whatever is going to happen in this area. And I think it's an extremely interesting. Yeah, it's actually also a very innovative idea if you're able to do this, because what this clinic can do with the group that's behind it is it can at least empower the local villages. And it can empower it without the burden of enlarging the local governments, which is always an issue. We can ask for a larger government body, but that obviously is a very expensive thing. So I think that's very interesting. I think it's very interesting to explore, and I also think, and this may be very ambitious, it's also very interesting to see whether it can be actually linked to policy. The other thing that, and now I'm reacting on the other group, that I liked very much was the idea that even the normal things that we like to frame as ugly and not good are being treated as promising. So the idea of having a beautiful highway can be very promising, of course. And I think it's exactly this attitude, this very positive attitude, that may help us a lot in the future. So I agree with Pak Bobi, and I agree with Ibu Wiwik that this is not the end, that this is kind of the step, one of the stepping stones towards a very interesting range of events that we can host and we can organize around this issue.
Yeah. Neville?
Yeah, I think Harman said it all. I could tell you maybe a personal angle. Very simply put, I have also experienced both Monday and today a lot of potential, and that sounds obvious, right? But it's not. When we started the project, we wanted to be objective. We wanted to try to how can we really respond. And the first step is to have this community of practitioners, of thinkers, of doers that have this drive to really make a change. So to discover that is of huge significance to me personally. That's one. And two, as we are figuring out how to respond, it becomes clear that the traditional methods and tools that we use as planners have to be redesigned. So as we are thinking about the region, we are actually also thinking about the discipline and our field as planners as a whole, which is really fundamental and extremely exciting.
That's related to the fact that the current practice of planning in Indonesia to some extent is ineffective. Yeah. So this
Yes.
workshop hopefully can somehow provide some ideas for improving the planning practice, and not only in Borobudur but in the whole Indonesia. That's related to the issue of zoning. We talked already the design guideline, the law enforcement, and this kind of what the link between spatial planning and economic development. You know, the importance of politics to some extent among actors, stakeholders involved in that area. Very much something that we learn. Yeah, not just land use, physical land use exercise. Yeah. Okay. But what about the, I don't know, but I was thinking about the one specific village, yeah, to work on, good for the clinic architect of clinic Saujana, or for the, I don't know, but yeah. Lastly, I think please allow us, yeah, Bu Wiwi, to continue communicate with all of you in many ways. Yeah. Of course, we don't want to make a new WhatsApp group. Yeah. You know, Harman and I feel is interesting in the Indonesia during the pandemic. Every time, every day, every minute, we have a new WhatsApp group. Yeah. From the new class, from after the workshop like this one, we usually form a new WhatsApp group. Yeah. But not for this workshop. Yeah. I guarantee that we will not have a new WhatsApp group putting all your name into. Ya, terima kasih ya semuanya. Thank you very much. I have to say sorry that this is just initial workshop. Yeah, actually our project we started this with only good intention, right? Harman, right? So, but actually we have no really clear ideas of the output of the project itself. So that's fair to say to all of you. But until now, as Neville mentioned, we learned a lot, I think, and then at least we know each other, and we thought on the similar, ideas perhaps. So we will see in the future. Yeah. So many things can be happen, but keep good intention and positive thinking for better future of the Borobudur. Yeah. Terima kasih. Bu Wiwi, you have to close this workshop.
Ya, terima kasih. Thank you all of the participants. I don't have to mention one by one again, but it's really a very nice and important opportunity for four of us, yeah, Pak Bobby, Neville, and Harman, that we can learn a lot from you all and also share each other. I hope all of you also can have an insight, yeah, from other participants, and we hope to continue the communication. And yeah, on behalf of UNDIP, I think I need also to apologize if there's something inconvenience, yeah, during the workshop in Monday and also Friday. And yeah, I think that's all. Saya kira itu saja. Terima kasih banyak sekali lagi atas partisipasinya. Bisa kita akhiri.
With a group picture. So please.
With a group picture. Yeah. Mbak Intan, please, Mbak Intan.
Please open the camera if you want. Wait.
Ya.
Makasih ya semuanya, Pak Cici, teman-teman yang dari
1, 2, 3.
Naga Ika, ya. Pak Debi.
Di sini nggak ada Bu Yani, Pak, yang rajin update, Pak.
Ya.
1, 2, 3. Sudah ya,
Pak Didi, teman-teman, ini nomor telepon number ya.
Ya. Pak Didi nggak
We
bisa
can start a
ada
WhatsApp,
video
Bro.
ya Pak, lagi di jalan kayaknya Pak Didi nih. Nggak
Maaf,
bisa.
ya, ini langsung keluar kantor, ada acara berikutnya. Ya,
Oke. Ya.
Nggak
Terima kasih,
apa-apa,
Pak.
Have a
hati-hati di
nice
jalan Pak.
weekend ya.
ya siap. Makasih Pak
Selamat
Bobi
akhir pekan.
atas
Ya, ya.
undangannya. Makasih Prof. Ya.
Kapan-kapan saya mau main lagi ke Borobudur ya.
Siap, kontak kami Prof. Studentnya banyak Prof di Babeda Prof. Ada 4.
Iya, iya, iya.
Kan fotonya sudah ya Mbak? Oh ya.
Kan Bu.
Makan apa kayak iwa anu yang pedas.
Iya, beong.
Beong.
Prof. Beong Prof. Ya. Mohon izin.
EFL Borobudur is famous for the specific local fish. It's called beong.
Yeah.
Terus keong in English Pak Bobi.
It's very very nice, even compared to the salmon. You know.
Local catfish.
Local catfish.
Iya.
Only exist in Borobudur. Imagine even in terms of fish ya.
Oke, terima kasih Bapak Ibu semuanya.
Sehat-sehat
selalu.
Thanks for asisten ya. Terima kasih untuk teman-teman asisten siapa tadi Mbak ya, Bu Wiwi, Intan,
Pak Intan sama Mbak
Amalia.
Ulfa. Ya. Ya, makasih ya.
Terima kasih. Thank you Neville, Armen. Terima kasih Bu Wiwi.
Mari Pak Armen. Terima kasih Monika.
Prof, Bobi,
Pak Fajar.
Salman, dan Neville. Mohon izin live.
Ya, mari-mari.